As we talked about in the lesson about diet and dopamine, it is not 100% clear on exactly what kind of diet is best for everyone and their dopamine system, although there is pretty strong evidence that a keto diet might be favorable. However, what we do know with 100% certainty is that eating a lot of junk food, sugar and candy and things like that, well, that can shift your dopamine set point and desensitize you a bit. Even though it tastes so amazingly good, well, I guess that's the precise reason then also, right? And you don't have to have a food addiction for this to take effect. For example, they have done studies on rats who overeat on junk food. And within just a few days of doing that, they saw noticeable downregulation of their dopamine D2 receptors. This is probably also why fasting works so well for upregulation of your dopamine receptors, because, well, if eating yummy foods is all the way here to this end of the spectrum, well, then fasting and not eating anything at all is on the complete other end of the spectrum. But it's also important to point out that normal whole food items are not bad for your dopamine system unless you really overeat on them. It is the modern processed foods that is really taking a toll on our dopamine system. For example, have you heard that many fast food restaurants use a specific ratio of fat to sugar to create a so-called bliss point, where the food will give you the highest amount of dopamine you can get from eating? And of course, this is going to hammer your reward system harder. So all those milkshakes, the donuts, candy, and all those fat-dripping French fries, well, those are definitely to be avoided during your fasting protocols, because again, eating those are indeed a low-value dopamine activity. Now, here I need to confess that in between fasting protocols and where I'm not doing a dopamine fast, I do allow myself to eat a bit more unhealthy food and give myself treats from time to time. Sometimes quite often, actually. I'm not saying I'm recommending you do the same, but it is one of those good things that life has to offer that I want to keep at least on some level in my life when I'm not doing a dopamine fast. And in between the fasting protocols, you also get more pleasure out of eating and, pretty much all activities, which I'm going to talk more about in module number 8.